Hello everyone, I know I'm going to say this every single time, but I am back for another video. I know it's been forever. I have had so much motivation. Finals came around, then Christmas came around, and then winter break was coming around, and then I finally was able to get things done, like the title says, wherever it is, that I finally read Something Like Spring by J. Bell. Also, I apologize for the lighting once again. It's kind of dark out, starting to get dark out. And this is my shitty lighting, so we're gonna make the best of it. But like I said, because of winter break, I've had a lot of free time, and therefore I was able to finally motivate myself to read Something Like Spring, and I am so freaking happy that I did because this book was phenomenal. I also want to mention before I get into the actual review, I finally got my Something Like Summer shirt. I was finally able to buy one, and so I'm gonna show you. So hopefully, Jay, you're watching this, because then you know I'm trying to support both you and the film, and I'm really sorry that I had not, wasn't able to help with that campaign and stuff, but this is my way of showing my support years later without, being an awful fan. I have not read it forever, but I finally got around to it, and I want to show you the shirt before I talk about it. Yay! So let's get into the review. If you don't know what Something Like Spring is, or any of the Something Like series, it is a book series. It's sort of like a gay romance fiction novel series. The first one is Something Like Summer, then Something Like Winter, then Something Like Autumn, Something Like Spring, and then the next one is Something Like Lightning, which I just bought on Amazon, and hopefully I get it before I go on my plane ride because I want to read it during then and all my travels. But I finished this, not yesterday, the day before. I finished it in like 3 days. It's the biggest book that I've read of his so far. It's like 447 pages. Whoa, damn, that's like almost 500 pages. And it was worth all of it. It was one of those books where I could not put it down. I would read it near the end of the night for like hours, and then I was really tired, and I'm like, okay, I'll stop at like 2 a.m. or something, and then the next day I'm like, oh my god, I have to know what happens next. I can't stop. I'm not gonna like wait a few days. I have to know right now. And it was kind of like watching something. It was so intriguing, and I'm so happy I finally got around to it. But basically, Something Like Spring is sort of a subplot to the original revolving storylines around Ben and Tim, and a little bit of Jace as well. So if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, then you can just not watch this video, but I'm going to talk about references from the other books. I love this book because it was something different, and what worried me at first, it was going to be very similar to Ben and Tim's story, with the unrequited love. Something's going to happen. Years later down the line, they meet each other once again. And while it still kind of followed similar patterns to that, it veered off into its own thing, and it was so incredible and majestic. And yeah, so basically this kid named Jason, who has a very similar name to Jason, that kind of bugged me at first, but I'm glad it kind of was referenced later on, when he actually does get to meet Jace before he passes away. I was like, why is he naming another character Jason? But it was awesome. But I feel like this is one of the only characters I didn't feel like I knew how I could picture him. With all the other characters, I kind of have this image, and even though Something Like Summer movie is going to come out, and I know what their versions are going to look like in the movie, I don't picture like that in the book, and I still don't, even to this day when they came around in the in this book specifically. But basically, Jason falls in love with this boy who is like his foster brother, because Jason is an orphan. He always in and out of, orphanages and families trying to adopt him and maybe possibly be part of this family, even though he's never had one. He meets this guy named Caesar, who is one of the only, like, what am I saying? Blood-related children to this family that might want to adopt Jason. And so he's kind of like his foster brother, and they start to have this romantic sexual affair, if you will, and things obviously do not go okay. But I do love Caesar because he's bisexual, and I'm so happy there's always bisexual representations in any sort of media related thing, and that made me really happy because people always just think it's straight or gay, and there's sometimes you blur the lines, and sometimes there's in the middle, and that's okay, like myself. So I was really happy that Jay wrote something a little bit different, a different characterization for in that whole sexual preference spectrum. That made me really happy, and he continued to be that throughout the entire series, and that's what made me really happy about this book. But basically things don't happen. Jason, you know, he actually gets in contact with Jace, who's actually his caseworker's name Michelle, who was Jace's sister. So she kind of gets in contact with him and saying, you know, you should talk to Jace because he has his life together, but he always had similar problems with Victor, like he's having with Caesar. Hail Caesar! I'm all over the place with this review. I'm too excited. I can't even fathom words. But then eventually he actually moves in with Ben and Tim. Holy shit, I was so excited they were back, because I remember years ago that Jay said that Something Like Spring was going to do something with Ben and Tim still. But then, you know, at the beginning of the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a totally different story. But no, they all intertwine and it's beautiful. But basically, he goes and lives with Ben and Tim and in Austin. And so he kind of builds a family with them as well, with Michelle's daughter, Emma, who eventually grows up and realizes that she is a lesbian, and they all kind of connect with one another because this is the first, like, family he really feels close to, and he actually falls in love with this guy named William, who's dating this other guy named Kelly, who's, like, kind of a bitch, and he has a right to be because he lost his leg or something, and it was all William's fault. It's a lot of drama going on there, but you know, at first I was really unsure about William and Jason, because I felt really bad, like he's stealing this guy's boyfriend. But then you come to realize, you know, there was problems before that he came around, and there always kind of was, and it just wasn't meant to be, so maybe William and Jason were meant to be. And how I picture William is actually Cord Overstreet, who plays Sam Evans on Glee. If you don't know who that is, look him up, because I literally pictured him the entire time like that, and I couldn't remember if the book said he was ginger or not, so I just pictured he was blonde because he was pasty, and he was a swimmer, and Sam was a swimmer in one episode or something. I don't know, but that was my first connection. I'm like, that's fucking fine, because Cord Overstreet is beautiful. I don't know how I picture Jason. I still don't know how I picture Jason, but he's obviously beautiful, because he can always get beautiful guys. And I kind of pictured Caesar to be more of like, not really mixed, but kind of era, like Middle Eastern sort of, with spiky hair, and I don't know, you know, you can describe something in a book and it's going to be totally different how I picture it, to be honest with you. And I still picture Tim a certain way, and it's just really strange. And I also pictured Kelly to look like this one, like, very beautiful African-American guy. I don't know, is that how you wrote it? I'm not even sure, but and I'm really glad that Marcelo came back, by the way, and Chinchilla, and all these characters that I loved from the first two books, and eventually a little bit, sort of, kind of, in the third book, but not really. Yeah, I don't know. I think Something Like Winter is still my favorite. I cannot lie, I loved Tim, and I loved the part when Tim pretended to be Jason's boyfriend to impress William and make Kelly jealous, or whatever, make him mad, or whatever, and irritated. I just love the story because while it had a lot of the old characters, it had a lot of new introduction to this new character that could spring off into lightning and all the other something like weather patterns. I'm just really excited because I was afraid that it was gonna be something that I did not maybe enjoy as much because I was so hung up on the other characters. But no, this did not disappoint me at all. It was 100% amazing. I love Jay's humor. I love the way he writes because I can relate to it as a teen. Well, I'm not a teen anymore, I'm 21. But as a younger person, and it's just, it never lets me down because it's always hilarious, and it's always heartfelt, and it always feels really, really real, like it happened to people all the time, realistic experiences maybe off his own. And I just like that each character, while it sort of feels like their little universe, they're all different and unique in their own ways, and I'm just so glad that frickin' Caesar did not end up with Jason in the end, because I knew he was gonna come back, and I thought it was gonna be like a Tim and Ben situation where like he said in the book that Jace is kind of like William because they're both sweet and they're both down to earth and they want the best for Ben and Jason, but then Tim and Caesar are kind of similar because they're both very confident, even though Tim wasn't very confident in his sexuality at first, but they have that similar kind of, they think they're hot shit kind of thing, and they're very gorgeous and whatever, but I'm glad that Caesar didn't end up with Jason, because I think Caesar needed to grow up a little bit more, and Jason was on a whole nother level. Even though he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, with his career, he still knows what he wants more than I think Caesar ever could, at least for now. So I'm very happy this series is continuing, because I know this is supposed to be like the last, and even Jay wrote a little note on the back saying that, you know, this is supposed to be the last, but nope, he's having so much fun with it, and he's gonna continue on, and I think that's fucking awesome. And sometimes series drags out, but this is one of the series that I want to keep going on forever, because I want to know more about Jason and William and what's gonna happen with them. It kind of left you hanging. I mean, it didn't, but it kind of did, you know, and it kind of did that with all the other books as well. And that's why I loved Winter maybe so much, because it wrapped it all up and you got to see the behind the scenes stuff. But also in Spring you got to see more of Ben and Tim's history later on, as they got older and as they were together longer, and them getting married and all this stuff, and all of Tim's past coming back, and oh my goodness, it's just an array of amazing feelings, and I am just so excited for Something Like Lightning. I want it right now. So please go read Something Like Summer and the series. After that, you will not be disappointed if you love LGBT related fiction. I think even if you've never been introduced into that, you know, I wasn't ever before either until I read Something Like Summer in like my senior year of high school, which was like 2010 or 11 or whatever, whenever it came out. Yeah, you will not be disappointed. I think just give it a try. It's a really light-hearted, like, you know, you don't have to be like super in depth into it. You know, it's a nice story that has surface and soul. So please go read it, and please go support Jay, because he's awesome, and I hope he continues to write forever, and I love his work, and I cannot wait for Something Like Summer the movie. So, mi mariposa hermosa. Talk to you guys later, and I'm sorry for the long wait. I may be doing my best of 2014 movies. I don't know, I cannot pick 10 freaking movies. My list is going to be so different from others I've seen, so I don't know if I will. But I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Go read Something Like Summer, and if you have read Something Like Summer but you haven't read the other ones, I'm motivating you right now. Go read them. Go read them. Go read them. They're amazing. You'll love them. You know, I do. You will.